Okay, so I'm going to take you through some of the super easy switches I've made as I'm trying to prep into this new season, which is either just regulating hormones, which is always good, or preconception wellness. So I have a whole bunch of stuff here. One of the first things that I switched was my skincare. So I have terrible skin, annoying, oily, dry, blah, blah, everything. So what I've been doing for years is stripping it of all the oils, hating it, scratching at it, all the worst things you could think of. So when I started thinking about all these things, I was realizing that maybe there's another way. So thinking about like probiotics, like not destroying our microbiome, etc. I was thinking, well, what if I'm doing the same with my skin? I'm stripping everything off of it, basically assuming like, okay, skin, like you're doing a shitty job of this. Let me fix it. I'm going to use acid and, whatever else is in regular drugstore brands, and I'm just going to strip all the oil and hopefully fix you. Okay, well, that never worked. So I actually started using micellar water, just simply from the store. And then I was thinking, well, how can I DIY this? Because there's still a lot of ingredients in it. I have no idea what they are. So I started making my own micellar water, which starts with, this is homemade rose water. So it's just made with, these are beautiful, delicious smelling little rosebuds. So I just throw these into a pot, boil the water. Some people distill it. I don't have a distiller, so I don't go that far. Boil the water, strain out the petals, and then you have something that looks like this. It smells so good. I keep it in the refrigerator. It lasts for like 2 or 3 weeks. And then I mix it with, so this is basically just like a toner. It smells really good. It's really refreshing, really nourishing. But to actually lift off makeup and oil, I use a mixture of rosehip oil. This is organic. I get it from Amazon. This actually smells pretty good too. It's will not clog your pores, very nutritious, and same thing, argan oil. So you can actually look up, different oils work for different people. These two work really well for me, but you can actually look up like which ones are non-comedogenic and like put them on a scale. So for my body, I also use sweet almond oil, but that's actually like a level 3 or something on like how much an oil will clog your pores, and since I have terrible skin, I don't want to put that anywhere near my face, so I use these two, which I think are a level 0. They won't clog your pores at all. So I mix in a few droppers of this in with about a cup of rose water, and then I also use, good for skin is cedarwood oil, so use maybe 3 drops of that, and lavender oil. So this whole concoction is how I wash my face. I basically don't let anything else touch my face because I know what's in here, and I know that my skin reacts really well to it. So I do not use soap. I don't use any moisturizer. I don't use anything like that. I do, of course, wear makeup, which I wish I didn't feel the need to do that, but I do. So I do wear a moisturizing primer and then my regular makeup. But as far as like daily use goes, this is it. It's just super simple, like minimalist. I actually just mix it up. This is an old kombucha bottle. I just mix up this little concoction in here, shake it up, throw it on a washcloth, which, be careful, it will dye it. The rose water will dye it. So throw it on a washcloth, wipe. It's really refreshing, super simple, and it's really cheap, which is one of my favorite parts. So that was my first thing with skincare, was kind of getting back to basics and coming to terms with the fact that like my body can take care of itself, and that I don't need to constantly be stripping and assuming that my body's not good enough. My body is good enough. You'll see that I do still have not very nice skin. I'm working on it, but that's just part of it. That's our bodies. So part of this whole preconception or just hormonal balance process for me is just coming to terms with that my body is good enough, even if sometimes it's presenting in a way that I don't particularly appreciate. So trying to nourish and heal my body where it needs it, as opposed to saying, I hate these scars, I need to get something lasered off, or, clearly I'm dyeing my hair, that part is not natural, but the internal stuff, like just being okay with that. So that was the first step of just like, how can I DIY my skincare? So that kind of inspired me to DIY some other things, including my morning drink. So I live and work in New York City. I have an office job, fast paced, blah, blah. I work in Manhattan. I live in Brooklyn, and I'm constantly commuting. I commute like an hour, and then, I get there into the city, and I'm already tired, and, I'm working all day, and then I try and go get, I get a coffee mid-afternoon, and then maybe even before I leave work. And anyway, coffee addict, basically, is what I'm saying. So when I started looking into hormonal health and, like, adrenal health and preconception health and, whatever stage you're in or I'm in, I was realizing the effects of caffeine. So, this is obviously hotly debated. Who knows? Maybe caffeine is really good for us. Maybe coffee is the elixir of life. I have no idea. But for me, I decided, can I take this, can I lift this out of my schedule? Because it was costing me a lot of money. A coffee in New York is like, near my office is like $5 or $6. So multiply that times a couple times a day is stupid for me. So how can I lift this up out of my schedule and refocus on nourishing and refocus on not needing something that may or may not be healthy for me? I'm not really sure. I'm still, jury's out, but for me right now, I don't want to drink it. So what I did was I started experimenting with coffee-like drinks. So the first one that I experimented with was something you might have seen. It's called tea chino. I think I'm saying that right. Comes in a million different flavors. There's like raspberry, hazelnut, regular, whatever. So this is a mixture of carob, barley, organic chicory, dates, almonds, and coffee flavor, whatever that is, and organic figs. So this is like a weird little blend that sort of tastes like coffee. If you go into it thinking it's going to be exactly like coffee, it's not. But I've continued hacking this process, trying to get myself away from actual coffee and into something that's nourishing. So you'll notice with all those ingredients, those are actually really, well, I actually don't know about carob, but the other things are actually really healthy for us. So barley, chicory, dates, almonds, and figs, that's, those things are nutritious. So that's different than for me, feels different than drinking a cup of coffee, which makes me feel jittery and also, hurts the the lining of my stomach. So this is the first thing I added. And then I actually just ended up getting, this is in like a regular coffee container, but this is just plain old chicory. So I don't know if you've ever seen it, but it smells a lot like coffee, maybe a little bit more bitter. It's way too dark in here, but looks a lot like coffee. And so I started mixing the two, kind of hacking that process. This is the one that I have that's raspberry, so sometimes I mix flavors. I also have like a hazelnut. Okay, so then I was like, well, if you look up the benefits of chicory, there's a lot of benefits. So I'm like, well, what else can I be adding to this? This is a drink that I'm drinking at least once a morning, if not also a couple times a day if I'm working from home or something and making another batch. So how can I hack this process and get even more nutrients into what I'm drinking? So then I found this really overpriced maca, $17. I know that's really ridiculous, but so I found maca root, which if you've never had it, you should try it. I love it. It tastes a little bit like marshmallows. So you can add this to a lot of different stuff. I'm sure I have not even gotten anywhere close to understanding all the benefits of it and like how to use it. It's just a little powder. Smells like a natural version of like toasted coconut or toasted marshmallow, so it's very sweet and full. So I started adding this, just throwing in a tablespoon of this. So you can Google it. This says something along the lines of a powerful adaptogen. Maca has a reputation for balancing hormones and increasing fertility and libido in both men and women, enhancing strength and endurance. In fact, Incan warriors would often consume maca before long journeys in battle. So obviously that's marketing speak from this brand, but I was intrigued. So I'm thinking, okay, well, I'm throwing in some maca, so what else can I do for this drink? I drink a lot of hot drinks, so this is like my thing. So I kept experimenting. And then my final and kind of most bizarre thing that I've added is this. Not that I'm hawking any of these brands, I don't care what you get, but this is just how I'm like learning to adapt to making these changes. So I don't really know, like, this is not coffee. It doesn't really taste like coffee. You don't even brew it like coffee. This is powder that, according to its original instructions, you add it to boiling water and just drink it, which I hated. Would definitely not do that again. It just tasted like hot boiled powder. These things in here don't really have a whole lot of flavor. I'm sure I could hack that process as well, add some cacao or more maca or something. But the reason I wanted to stick with this is because of the 3 ingredients. So as I'm researching more of things that are nutritious, that are hormone balancing, that are can be made into something like a drink, these 3 things have really been coming up a lot, and this is already pre-mixed, so I've been thinking, like, how can I add this? So my hack now, and this is just, again, like a little powder. So now at this point what I do is I actually brew, minus this big thing of maca, I brew all of these things together in just like coffee. So I throw everything together, and it ends up making, especially in the end, like when I take the actual brewed coffee and add in almond milk, or whatever you want, soy milk or regular milk, it actually tastes a lot like coffee, and it gives me energy, it makes me feel good. For me, a lot of coffee isn't necessarily even the energy, it's just like feeling like I have a warm treat that's like a break. So like a coffee break to me feels really important, just for like my rhythm. So that's what this feels like. I make it just like coffee, I add in my milk, my soy milk or whatever, and I sit and have a treat, and it's actually nutritious. So this was my second hack that I did. So cutting out the caffeine, adding in all of these nutrients. Obviously each person would have their own decision-making process here of like, maybe you hate this, maybe you love just plain, some people love just plain chicory. In the store you can also get coffee that is already combined with chicory. The problem with that for me is that they don't tell you the breakdown usually, so I am slightly concerned about caffeine, me personally, so I don't want to be drinking something that's like fully caffeine and only a little bit of chicory. So for me that breakdown is important, so I like doing it myself. But you could certainly just use chicory and throw in some decaf or regular coffee or whatever. So that was step 2 of this process of adapting. So the second thing is pretty simple, and if you're thinking about like preconception or even just hormonal health, this is probably something that you've already done or thought of, but I wish that my OBGYN or my gynecologist had chatted with me about this. Love her to death, but a prenatal vitamin that's also for preconception. When I told her that I wanted to take, I had an IUD, when I told her, we'll probably be taking it out in the next 6 months or something, she's like, okay, well, when that time comes, we'll just do that. So I'm like, okay. Those months go by, and then I go and I say I'm ready to take it out, and she takes out my IUD and says, okay, just have fun, which obviously, yes, that is awesome, but there's more to it. So I wish that was a discussion that we had. I think maybe it's just not normal I'm in America, maybe it's not normal in our culture to really discuss preconception, or maybe it's that OBGYNs and like health professionals don't want to put pressure on women to make changes before they're pregnant if maybe it takes a long time to get pregnant. So not freaking us out before, like, do all these things and make all these changes if we're not going to be pregnant for a year. Maybe that to them doesn't make sense or puts pressure on us. I am a planner, I am a doer, I don't really like sitting still, so to me having these things to do feels really good and it feels really healthy to me. And the more that I read, the more that I'm wondering why the rate of infertility and all sorts of issues is so high in the U.S. because even just when speaking with my friends, a lot of us don't know any of these things. We don't know anything about preconception. We don't know anything about even prenatal health or preconception wellness for our partners. Like, none of us really know any of these things. This, what I've been saying with caffeine, like caffeine I'm not really sure about for me. That's because I feel like there's not really a whole lot of information there, but it's something that I would have been happy to have a professional say, hey, this is something for you to consider. Other than me just going on Instagram and like looking at other people talking about preconception and Googling, I think it's a larger conversation, and maybe that would help a lot of us as we go into this, if we've already prepped our bodies, if we've brought ourselves to a place where we're at in a prime place, and then going through problems from there if they arise. Anyway, so this is just from Amazon. There's a million brands of it. The most important thing for me here is vitamin B, because I seem to be vitamin B deficient, if that's a thing. Vitamin B really affects me and it gives me a ton of energy. And then folate, which they say is one of the most important things to get into your body, get into your partner's body as you're planning to conceive. So when you do conceive, both of your bodies have plenty of folate in it. So it's something to Google. It's something that I'm taking pretty seriously now. So I take these. Actually, I have to take 3 a day, which that's a lot and kind of gross. But I take 3 a day. My husband takes 3 a day. At the very least, it's a multivitamin. At the very most, it's prepping our bodies for something that may or may not happen in the near future. So the other thing that I love is valerian root. So one of the things that I'm working on with hormonal balance and preconception is stress. So I have had severe anxiety in the past. I have some chronic anxiety, but most of all, I would say I'm a ruminator. So meditation is great for me, but it is something that I adore. I take it before bed, and it helps me to sleep. And my favorite thing about it is if and when I wake up, because I wake up in the middle of the night a lot. I don't know why. If and when I wake up, I can go back to sleep more quickly. But this is natural, so there's no repercussions from it other than being sleepy. So if you take this and you're going to try and go be in a meeting, maybe don't do that. I made that mistake the first time because I thought this was for anxiety, and I didn't realize that it was for sleeping. So, be careful where you are. You're not going to plop down in the middle of the road, but you will get drowsy. So other than that, though, there's no side effects or anything like that. So this is helpful to me to be aware of, okay, it's sleep time, taking this, getting my full 8 hours, which I know is really important, and I don't always get that. So this is just kind of inspiring me and reminding me that sleep is important and downtime is important. And sleep for me is really essential in curbing that anxiety, because for me, waking up in the middle of the night and feeling anxious is one of the worst times for me. That spikes my heart rate, it spikes my brain, and then I'm thinking about all sorts of things that I really don't need to be thinking about at 4 in the morning. So this is my second thing. So then I have this thing that I love, which I haven't thought about since I was about maybe 10, is taking baths. So I don't know how many of you guys have taken a bath in the last 10 years. I have not, but I recently got pretty bad tendonitis in both of my wrists, and my husband suggested that I take a bath for my wrists with not magnesium flakes, but whatever the one is that you can get at the drugstore. So I did. I looked up a recipe, made my bath super, super hot, put in I put in a bunch of random stuff in there, and my wrist, I can't say really felt much better or much worse, but what felt better was my entire body. I don't think that I have been that relaxed in years and years. I don't think I have been that relaxed. I got out of the bath and I just zombied into my bed and laid out and just stared in full comatose relaxation, probably for 20 minutes as my body cooled down. So since then I've been doing more baths, because why would I not do that? It's super relaxing, it's good for my skin, it's good for my brain, my body, everything. So this doesn't necessarily have anything to do with preconception or hormonal balance, other than just curbing anxiety, taking time to actually breathe really deeply, and then there are some nutrients in here, and this is cleansing. So man, if you haven't taken a bath and you have a bath I live in New York City, this is the first time in my life that I have a bathtub that's not disgusting. But now that I have a clean bath that's not from the 19th century, this is my favorite thing. Just do it if you have the space. Just try it once. If you hate it, you hate it. Some people probably hate baths. It is a little weird at first. So I make the bath as hot as possible. If you have inflammation, I would not do that. So when my wrists were a little bit swollen, I made a mistake making it super hot the first time. Second time, made it a little bit cooler. So if you have inflammation, acute inflammation, then make it a little bit cooler. But if you can stand it, I tend to love hot water, fill up the bathtub super, super full so you can feel like a little mermaid or merman. And then this is magnesium flakes. So this I have to get on Amazon. It's a little bit expensive. The directions say to use the entire bag. This entire bag is $17. I do not use the entire bag. I can't do that. That'd be the most expensive bath I've ever taken. So I use a cup of this. And this is, you can look up the benefits of magnesium, but most of us that don't have the perfect diet, which I don't. I had Rice Krispie treats for dinner last night. tend to have a good diet. Sometimes I slip. I'm a sweet tooth. So if we don't have a perfect diet, we might be magnesium deficient. So this is something to Google. It works really well for me. I feel really great. I actually take, like non-related to this, I actually take this. This is like a magnesium supplement. If I'm feeling especially anxious, that works wonders for me. So the other thing is bentonite clay. So these flakes are actually kind of cool. They almost feel a little bit like sea glass, and they sound a little bit like sea glass too, which is pretty. This is just plain old dirt, probably. Nothing special. Doesn't smell that great. Neither of these really smell that great, so you can add an essential oil. But bentonite clay is really good for inflammation. It's also good for detoxing your skin. So every once in a while, I'm careful with this because I don't really know the chemical makeup of what it's doing on my skin, but every once in a while I make a mask of this. But for the bath, I just put in like a third of a cup or something. This will get your bathtub kind of messy, so beware. But sitting in a bath with these two things, super hot with some lavender or cinnamon oil, brings my heart rate down. Like, I feel like I'm dead in a really great way. The world just melts away. So these two things I would suggest if you're an anxious person, or even if you just are ready to detox or get some nutrients in a new way. This will absorb into your skin and this will detox it. So that's all I have today. Those are all the switches that I've made in recent memory to, well, I'm sure there's more, but these are the ones that I can think of this morning as I transition into this hormone regulation, possibly preconception. We'll see where the wind blows us, but into this season. So I will leave you with that. Thank you guys. Bye.